deep in the forests of North America, a creature is said to exist. A creature that people are encountering.
Seriously, look how big it is.
With far too many reports to ignore, there are elements of truth behind these accounts that mankind can no longer
It's
ignore.
created almost this obsession where I need to find out
Could the
more.
breeding population of large, upright, hairy hominids really exist in North America? Or is there something more paranormal at work here, deep in the woods? If just one footprint, one wood knock, or one howl is real, then man's understanding of primate evolution would be changed forever. Join Glenn Fussell and the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective as they delve further into the mysteries of Bigfoot and other paranormal phenomena through the eyes of witnesses, investigators, critics, and skeptics. Join us as we look to discover what lurks from behind tall trees.
Hello, welcome to this edition of From Behind Tall Trees. This is Gwendolyn Purcell. We're here on a special night. It's Monday. Last week we were to talk with Max Furek, but we had a complication with schedules. So he is here tonight on a special night. So we will be bringing him on stage. Hello, how are you?
Good, Gwen. You know, I've been on like a million podcasts, but I got to say your intro is the best I've seen. That's really, really good stuff.
Brandon did an amazing job on that intro. I absolutely love it. I don't want to change anything about it. It's fantastic.
It's good. Yeah.
You did a great job.
Yeah, right.
This has been a long time coming. We've been trying to get this together. We've been trading phone calls for 2 years, I think now.
And you never answer my calls, so let's that be known on your.
You're not the only one. There's quite a few people that are like, I called you like 30 times the other day, and I'm like, yeah, I don't. My problem is I'm always busy when somebody calls, and then I just forget.
Yeah. And then you work too. You got a real job. So
I do have unfortunately.
Yeah. But I guess the time's right. It doesn't happen until the time's right. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think Buddha might have said that.
Oh, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of all of this.
Sure.
So you, sir, have been extremely busy the last year the last 2 years that I've known you. I think you've put out like 3 or 4 books.
Right.
It's been incredible. Is that all you do is write?
Well, pretty much. Yeah. First of all, call it what you will, addiction, obsession, whatever. But I write all the time. I love to write. And there's just something about that creativity of putting something together and making something out of nothing. And pretty much when you first start to write a document, it's pretty crappy. You hate it. But you play with it and you give it flow and sequence and all that. You research it. You use quotes from other, experts to validate it. And that's pretty much what I do. I consider myself an academic. I try to find a scientific premise for, like in Co-Regent Hoodoo, my great book. I love that book. But I try to put the spiritual and paranormal closer to the scientific. So
right.
So I believe that everything is in the scientific realm. The only problem is that the example I use is you see a ball drop, and so it's cause and effect. You see the ball dropping, and we know it's dropping because of Newton's law of gravity.
Right.
But then when you see things in the sky or whatever, orbs, whatever it is, spirits, apparitions, we see them, but we don't know we see the effect. We don't know what the cause is. So it may have a scientific connection. But with all this stuff, with all the saucers, the UFOs and UAPs that we're seeing, the same thing today as back in the 1947, 3% of what we see are anomalous. We cannot explain them.
Right.
So 3%. So you could, say what you will, but that hasn't changed. And we're working on that 3%. And that's that's pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. A while ago, I was, every now and then I'll jump on YouTube and watch a black and white, sci-fi movie. And I think it was, what was it, Earth versus the Flying Saucers. And to make that authentic, they had the scientist give a little presentation in the beginning. And he said
Oh,
that 3% can't be explained, So that
oh
was
my gosh.
Earth versus the Flying Saucer. Yeah,
That's awesome.
it really is.
You just put out a new book called The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot.
Yeah,
I
look at
happen
that.
to have a copy in front of me.
Yeah,
Maybe one of these days I can get the author to sign it for me.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
um, talk to us about your book.
Yeah, well, let me see. In 2023, I put out 2 books for Beyond the Fray. One was Co-Region Hoodoo.
Mm-hmm.
That was the result of years and years and years of work. And then also I did something. This was ego driven. I talk about, and I don't, but I wanted to go and see if I could put out a book in 100 days. And it
Oh
was
my
almost like
gosh.
microdosing.
Right.
What I did was I worked on Flying Saucer Esoteric morning, noon, and night. And I was driven, and I decided that when I reached 100 days, I would pull out, so I wouldn't just burn out.
Right.
Able to finish the book in 97 days. Now, again, I don't recommend anybody doing that because that's really over the top, and you're opening up doorways to God knows where. But anyway, I did finish it, and it turned out good. But that was I wanted to have 2 books published in the same year. So in Co-Region Hoodoo, there were 2 chapters on Bigfoot. And I got a lot of attention because of those 2 chapters. I mean, your Bigfoot Expo in Elysburg was one of them. I mean,
Yep.
that book opened up doors. I mean, explain that. That's synchronicity that Jung talked about, that when everything aligns with you, one person with the God smiling and the winds at your back and all that. So that happened. I was invited to Johnstown for their expo and just a whole lot, Baltimore, all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things. And I decided that Bigfoot seems to be the place to go. I mean, like, everybody's interested in these cryptids. So The Lost Tribes of Bigfoot was my attempt at trying to figure out what they were and what this was all about. And pretty much I straddle both sides, and I could see the Bigfooters that go out there looking for it, and and what their proof is, what their evidence is, versus the woo theories that I probably subscribe to more, the interdimensional theories, Jung's collective unconscious, mass hallucinations, all of that.
Yeah.
And so that's intriguing and fascinating. And I follow in the footsteps of Einstein and John Keel and Jacques Vallée and all those guys. I mean, we're in the same club. So, but we're all looking, and we're all like sort of like J. Allen Hynek. Hynek did a couple of things for us. He was the skeptic. He didn't believe in flying saucers. He was the government. Blue Book, Grunge, and Sign. He was all 3 of the government's projects looking into flying saucers. And he was a skeptic, but towards the end, he said, wait a second, we're treating these witnesses with a lot of disrespect. These people are seeing things, and we're just dismissing them as being crazy or needy or, hallucinating or whatever. And he changed his tune. But the point I was trying to make was that J. Allen Hynek contributed to our field a bunch of things. Like, one was terminology. He gave us the term high strangeness. And, it's one thing to see the orb, but if the orb's hovering over your car and knocking out the engine, and blocking out time, then there's levels of high strangeness. There's something there. Or he talked about close encounters of the first, second, and third kind. And so, J. Allen Hynek is really like one of the gods in the paranormal realm. And I think that people like you and I tend to do the same thing, trying to define things and put them into genres and categories. And so that's what we're doing tonight on behind tall trees, from behind tall trees, just to try to figure some things out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's been a lot of things, like I am the boots on the ground. I go out in the woods all over the place. I've got 2 trips planned to the UK,
Oh yeah, I saw
one in
that.
about 3 weeks.
Yeah,
And I am making plans to go to the UARI in the spring. I also a gentleman I know owns quite a bit of property out in I want to say not Western PA, but like the Altoona State College area.
yeah.
And he's given me full permission to come out there with a team
Oh,
and
cool.
do research. So there's going to be quite a few projects. Plus, I have the Allegheny research that I've already involved in. So I mean, we're out there too twice a year. So there's a lot of research being done this year instead of traveling all over to all
Yeah,
these
yeah,
festivals and stuff.
yeah.
But
It's exciting stuff, and you're leading. You're living your Indiana Jones life. So, so that,
that's true.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
very true.
And that's it's what a lot of us do. Those of us who get off the couch.
Right.
We search for meaning. We look for truth.
Yes.
We look for the Holy Grail. So some of us do, not all of us.
But a lot of the things that we find, like there's a lot of things that I've seen, I've heard, I've taken photographs of that I can't explain.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that this was a flesh and blood thing that did this. So I'm not saying that it's Bigfoot. I'm saying that it's something. And that something is I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know what Bigfoot is, right?
Yeah. Right. We don't know. No.
We don't know.
None of us know.
Everybody camps out in these camps, and I refuse to get into any camp. I'm in the middle of the circle of camps trying to figure out where the evidence is taking me. You know what I mean?
Right.
I let the evidence speak for itself. I don't go in with an already determined idea and then make things fit to my, if something's weird and I can't explain it, I don't just throw it out.
Yeah.
Like I pack it in a box and go, okay, well, we have to look at this, but let's keep going and see if anything else fits with that evidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and with that evidence, if you look at the different elements of high strangeness, you
Absolutely.
have multiple witnesses. You have the smells always.
Mhm.
You have the wood knocks. You have the stones. You have the structures. But then you have the footprints, larger than humans or bears, a stride wider than humans or bears.
Right.
That gets my attention. There's something there.
Absolutely.
It's not the scientific community, disavows any of that, but still there's something of substance there. We have everything but the body.
Right. Right.
So.
Yep. I agree. I completely agree. There's got to be something else there. And, for all these people that have been like, there's no aliens, there's no UFOs, whatever, the government released millions of documents that show that aliens are real. They've been working with them for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And to just dismiss that is,
Mm-hmm. Well, the government's been holding all of these hearings. They did one in July of 2023, and David Grush was the superstar. And he's a guy from Western Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
He was former military intelligence, and he claims that based on speaking with 40 government officials who retrofitted, reversed engineered craft, he said that he knows where the bodies are. He knows where the crashed vehicles are. And and then they did it again and talked to more people just recently, just like 3 months ago. So, it seems like the government is trying to be more transparent.
Yes.
But I'm a skeptic because, show me the money.
Right. Right.
And I wrote a letter to Marco Rubio, who is now going to be the new Secretary of State under Trump. But, I'm down here in Florida. I'm now a Floridian. I became a Floridian 2 years ago. And I wrote a letter to Senator Marco Rubio, who was on the UFO committee. And so I said, listen, I thank you for the work that you're doing, but could you please make David Grush show his cards? Where are the bodies? Where are the vehicles? So I got a letter back from him, but it was, didn't satisfy me. But now Marco's out of the loop. He's now Secretary of State, so he's not in the UFO game. So
Right.
I lost my contact.
Do you think they'd ever come through and actually do that? Show us anything?
Well, first of all, I think that we could handle it. I mean, if we had
Absolutely.
proof that Jesus was an alien, I think we could handle that. Whatever. If we had proof that the miracles in the Bible were actually ancient aliens, I think that we could handle that. I think that we're more sophisticated than the government thought we were back in the 50s, because they had that conversation back in the 50s. And, this of course, all started in 1947 when Kenneth Arnold saw those 9 shimmering discs that
Oh, yeah.
the reporter called saucers. But even back then, people thought they were enemy, advanced enemy, weapons, like maybe from Russia, because this is in 47. This was right after the war. So we
Right.
still had that Cold War hysteria, but we looked up in the skies then and we were seeing things, but they weren't saucers. They were, enemy aircraft.
Hmm.
And that's a pretty amazing phenomenon. If you, it's like a Rorschach. You look at that Rorschach test and you're going to see something. You're
Right.
going to see something. And we know this with the fabulous drone invasion of 2024.
Yeah. What's your thought process on that? I've heard every theory known to man.
Yeah. Well, I would say this. Forget about those. What is this? It's all about fear.
Yes.
And anxiety, and it's all about every single entity fanning the flames. For example, and like, I don't care what your political affiliation is, the Biden administration dropped the ball. None of their talking heads were able to successfully articulate what they were.
Mhm.
President-elect Donald Trump should have kept his mouth shut, but he went and he blamed the government and said that they knew something. There was a conspiracy. They're holding something back from the American people. Again, fanning the flames, not giving us confidence, but fanning the flames. There was a representative from South Carolina, a female, who claimed they were flying saucers. They were extraterrestrial.
Oh, Lord.
We had the one dude that said that they were government drones looking for a nuclear weapon that had been
I heard that too.
out of Ukraine, and it was in New Jersey. So they were over New Jersey looking for that. So
I heard that too. I heard that. I actually called a friend of mine when I heard that, because he's in the military. And I was like, have you ever heard about, because I was told that there's 3 missing nukes from years ago that they've never found, and that either they're missing another one or they're trying to find those other 3.
Yeah.
And I called him and was like, dude, what's the deal? Like, do you know anything? Have you ever heard about missing nukes? And he's like, no.
Yeah, I was
Like,
on a podcast.
You'd think there'd be a tracker or something on those babies, that they go missing, you could find them.
Yeah, I was on a
nuclear weapon.
podcast from San Francisco, and they were bringing that up, and I had not heard of that at the time, but that was big news out there. But anyway, everybody and anybody was just fanning the flames and getting us scared.
Yes.
And here's the thing. When you think there's something up there, you start looking and you'll find things. And so we actually were seeing things, even though those drones and planes and stars had always been there. But and at the end, we were scared. It was almost like the 1938 War of the Worlds.
Yes.
Halloween, he had that radio drama, and a lot of people believed that it was true. But again, talk about the hysteria. What was happening back then? You heard about all these suicides and people panicking. Well, what was happening? The newspapers were afraid of this new media called radio.
Yeah.
And so they started to write articles against War of the Worlds and Orson Welles. People wanted to kill him. People wanted to kill Orson Welles for starting this riot.
Oh my gosh.
But the newspapers were fanning the flames and blaming his program for suicides and all this other stuff. And they just made, it was just like over the top. It was just,
wow.
hysterics.
Right.
And, we, and then even last year, 2023, what about the Chinese weather balloons that we could not figure that out. And,
Right?
come on, shoot them down, I mean, do something. But it was like almost there was something missing. We weren't
Yeah.
being told something, I mean, don't tell me we're safe, don't, we were
Right.
being spied on. And so, I mean, the purpose of the government is to keep us safe. I think to keep, well, if not even to keep us informed, at least give us the impression that we're informed and we're safe.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
and this thing with the drone, hysteria of 2024, we didn't get any of that. So
No.
that was right around Thanksgiving, and so that seems to have gone away. But
Yeah, I'm glad because I haven't heard too much about drones the last couple of weeks. There
Yeah.
haven't been very much, but yeah.
yeah, I know. So that came and went, but so,
I walked outside and looked up and was like, I don't see any drones. Whatever.
yeah. But the thing about flying saucers, I don't think anybody thought about that. They thought it might have been. I thought they might have been coming from Iran or maybe Russia, but not. But not flying saucers, not UFOs. So,
No. The other suggestion that was brought up to me was that they were mapping, like land mapping. And I was like, why would they need to do that? It's pretty much not changed, right? The
Mhm.
United States is the United States. Not like
Yeah.
it's changed a lot. Like, I don't know what they would be mapping, but I mean, I guess that's a possible
Yeah.
land mapping. I mean, Google drives around with their car with the big whirly thing on it to
Mhm.
map the streets and everything. So who knows?
Yeah. But that was a great experiment in hysteria,
Mm-hmm.
in again, looking into the skies and seeing something. If you look long enough, you're going to see something.
Yep.
And and that fits into with cryptids and flying saucers and everything else.
Absolutely.
So there's a mechanism called confabulation, and I think the way it works is the psyche has to fill in the gaps.
Right.
So if you're zapped by electricity or a blackout,
Right.
a gray out, whatever, the brain, the psyche has to go and confabulate and fill that with something. So you'll fill it with either alien abductions or cryptid sightings or whatever. So
Right.
that's part of our makeup. And and again, the interesting thing is that when Catholic priests go out and do an exorcism, they have to determine whether or not the person is actually possessed by a demon or if they're mentally ill, if they're dealing with schizophrenia.
Right.
And again, with you and I, with Bigfoot and UFOs, we got to find out if these people that are seeing things are indeed credible, or
Yes.
could it be hallucinations, or
Yeah.
or confabulating, making things up. So again, that's a good question to ask.
And that's funny because we're going to the UK at the end of January to do some research, and somebody actually called one of the 4 researchers and said, and pretty much filed a false Bigfoot report because they wanted to meet one of the researchers. And I was
Okay.
like, that's not doing us any justice.
No,
Come
no, no,
on,
no.
people.
I've been doing these podcasts, speaking out against the hoaxers. I mean, they are
Yeah.
so wrong. They're so wrong. They,
Mhm.
they take us back. And in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot, I have 3 chapters where I address the hoaxers and why they do it, and also, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to make sure people see it.
Your listeners are going to be going
Oh
blind.
my gosh.
But why do they do it? And they do it. The hoaxers do it to get their 15 minutes of fame.
Yes.
And or to con us. I mean, like, it's a game. It's almost like Jack the Ripper. He would write
Mhm.
letters to Scotland Yard and
Yeah.
dare them, or the Zodiac Killer.
Yes.
Or
Taunting.
the Unabomber. They all did that. They were, intelligent people that just toyed with us and played with us. So I think
Right.
some people do that. But, throughout history, we've had hoaxers like the Piltdown Man, which is infamous, and also the Minnesota Iceman.
Mhm.
And I have chapters on those in the book, but I mean, people should read those and take notes because that was pretty telling, and that took our field, our genre back, a ways,
Yes.
so.
Yes. I think it's sad as a researcher that we can't all work together. Because there's a lot of that infighting where if you believe they're flesh and blood and I believe there's something else, that we can't agree to disagree and just continue to work together. It's no, you're wrong, I'm right, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'll
that
tell
does
you
not
what,
do us any
yeah,
justice.
we're not naming names here, but when I talk to some of the Bigfoot people that I know in the Commonwealth, I mean, boy, Johnny doesn't like Joe and Joe
Yes.
doesn't like Sam, and boy, oh boy, I don't believe it. I mean, there's a lot of animosity.
There's
You
a
know,
lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
God, I mean,
It's ridiculous. That doesn't help us.
no, it doesn't. No,
It does
no,
not help us at all. It hinders us more than anything because
no,
then we're not sharing.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, how can I plot a bunch of spots on a map if you're not going to tell me where the spots are? Like,
yeah,
how am I supposed to compare notes with you if you're not willing to come to the table and play the same game?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah. I was talking to our friend Bill Rigby the other day, and
oh yeah, yeah.
I was telling Bill about my Bigfoot sighting, which I'd like to
Uh-oh.
relate.
Absolutely.
So
Do
this was
tell.
the summer of 2024, and I was walking with my wife Pat in the Riverlands in Salem Township, Berwick, and
Okay.
uh, and it was a cool day. And there's a pathway there that goes along the Susquehanna. A lot of times it's flooded and you can't go there, but this time it was dried out, and so we were walking there. And I've been looking for Bigfoot in Pennsylvania and swamp ape down in Florida. I look and
Yes.
look and look. I mean, as we all do. But anyway, I'm walking down the pathway and I see this black shape, and it comes closer. I'm just thinking, just for a second, maybe it is. And my heart starts pumping and the adrenaline's flowing, and this Bigfoot-like thing comes towards me, veers to the left behind a tree, comes towards me, wide shoulders. And this was like 1001, 1002, 1003 seconds. And then here it's a woman wearing a larger jacket that had the not the lapels, but the shoulder, the extended
Oh,
shoulders,
yeah. The
shoulder pads, and is walking towards me with a dog. But for those 3 seconds,
Yes.
I experienced this sighting. I mean, man, it was like, I remembered that to this day. I mean, like I was jacked up, jazzed up, adrenalized. Finally, there was, I mean, it was like a sacred moment.
Yes.
That's the closest I've come, it wasn't, it wasn't a Bigfoot. I thought it was. I mean, I thought it was for those seconds, and maybe for
Wasn't it
those 3
exciting?
seconds,
It was
maybe for those 3
exciting.
seconds, I tapped into some kind of reality.
Mhm.
But again, it wasn't flesh and blood. So, but when I told Bill Rigby that, he talked about his sighting, and his was totally different. Mine was euphoric.
Yes,
His was very frightening, and he suffered from that sighting, and he was
he
close, like
did.
15 foot away. So
Yeah.
he talked about that. So it's it's in the eye of the beholder. It's all different.
It's yeah, everybody's experience is different, it seems,
Yeah.
you know.
But I'm so glad that I had that.
Yes.
Whatever that was, that 3 second little zip, that little taste of that glimmer. That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
That
It's
glimmer.
exciting.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah. So, but I look, and we went for a nice 2 mile hike down here in Florida. We found this trail that's way out there that nobody uses, and I look and look and look, and so anyway, that's but not everybody sees them. I think people that sees Bigfoot are they have a special gift and ability. There's something there that we don't know what that is, but it's
Right.
special.
Yeah.
And do you think maybe you have a special gift or a power or
Um,
an ability?
I've been told.
Okay,
I'm working on it.
okay.
Some weird things have been happening. Um,
Okay, well,
I was actually I will share this with you. I was out in the Allegheny National Forest in October, the first weekend of October, and I've been told that I have some psychic abilities.
Hmm.
I don't know what that is exactly. I was just told to work on it, and I don't know how you do that. And try to Google that one time. That's a nightmare,
Yeah.
right? So I've just been told to like pay attention to things, and the things that pop into my brain that make no sense at all. I'm supposed to jot them down, like create a notebook, and um, so I'm in the Allegheny National Forest. It is 4 o'clock in the morning. I am sleeping in the back of my truck because that's what I do when I'm by myself. I just sleep in my car. And out of nowhere, I was sound asleep and something yelled, "Hey," in my ear very loudly. And I sat straight up. And I'm like looking around, like everybody's asleep, nobody's out. I don't see anything, anyone. And I was just like, what the hell was that? Like, I've never had that experience before where something is like I've heard somebody talk in my
Hmm.
brain that was not
Hmm.
there. And I was like, I don't even know. Like, I'm not prepared for that. Like, what is that? Like, I've
Yeah.
heard people talk about mind speak and such things,
Yeah.
and I've never experienced that. So I don't know that to be true. So, like, when that happened, I got up the next morning and I was like, we went to breakfast and I was with Paul Bogdan and I said, "Hey, buddy, I got to tell you what happened." And I told him and he was like, okay. Because his wife has this ability to communicate with things. And I have not experienced that before. So it was very unnerving,
Yeah.
but at the
Yeah.
same
Well,
time, kind of exciting because I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, but I've I've been seeing things lately and having experiences like something pulling the back of my hair when I'm at work and I turn around and nobody's there, but clearly something pulled my hair.
Hmm.
So I'm like, what the hell was that? So I don't know if whatever ability I have is progressing because I am paying more attention. I'm being more hyper vigilant with the things that I see and I hear, but
Yeah.
I
Um,
don't I don't know.
yeah. When we get off air, I have a phone number for you, somebody to
Oh,
call. So yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'll be a good call, and you could explore that. But yeah, that's I was looking through my little box here, but yeah, who knows? I mean, who knows? I mean, that's what
Right?
with this all. There's Sean. Hey, Sean, how you doing? So anyway, the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot has been been doing well. We were on George Norrie's Coast to Coast, which was a real big
That's
hoot.
exciting.
Yeah, it really was. Yeah, and we talked about hoaxers because that's something that I claim that the hoaxers have sold their souls to the devil,
They
and
have.
they've done it for their 15 minutes of fame, and it's just not good. I mean, we don't need that. We need the scientific method where things can be duplicated and replicated, and you show me the evidence, and I look it over and all that.
Right.
One of the most recent hoaxes was back in it was 2023. Jaime Maussan was the Mexican ufologist who rolled out those two alien creatures with the three fingers and the big
Oh.
eyes, and he had them there in these glass bubbles, and he all the Mexican politicians, the congressional leaders, looked at them, but he wouldn't share those bodies with the scientific community. And that's what you need. When we went up to the moon in 1969, we brought back moon rocks, split them up, and we divvied them around the world to scientists that could go and take a look at them and say, yes, it has uridium and zinc and whatever else in that.
Hmm.
And, so that everybody was on the same page.
Right.
But with Jaime Maussan, he didn't do that. So he got called out. And but I mean, I was fascinated by that. I followed it. I wrote a couple of articles about it, and but he was able to get but he's been doing this for decades.
Hmm.
With all the false photographs of saucers and everything else that he's done. So he's but he has a following, and even with some of these hoaxers, I think one of the best known was in history was George Adamski. And back in the 50s, Adamski claimed that he saw saucers, and these people from Venus took him on rides in the saucers and everything.
Oh,
And he had photographs of flying saucers that were actually light bulbs and just stupid stuff that he cobbled together. But
oh my
people believe
gosh.
that. But George Adamski came along, and he was one of the first people to talk about New Age religion. He was saying that the Space Brothers were going to save us from ourselves, because this is in the 50s. This is right after we dropped the bombs
Oh yeah.
on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And, we were afraid. We were in that Cold War, and we had the ability to go and, bomb ourselves back to the Stone Age. And Adamski, even though he was a con artist, even though the FBI was watching him because they couldn't figure him out, and he was a good-looking Polish American guy that had a third grade education, spoke broken English, didn't have a chance in hell to make it, to be successful, but he was able to surround himself with people that would write his books for him, and do all
Oh,
this stuff. He pulled it off. George Adamski pulled it off. So he was one of the biggest hoaxers in history. But he had a cult. He had a religion. People felt safe with him. So anyway, he was a paradox. A little bit of this and a little bit of that.
yeah. It doesn't take much to gather a following. It doesn't seem like.
I guess. We all have the answers inside of us, but it's a lot easier to look at a leader and follow. And a lot of it is with fear.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know how political you get on your on your program, but when you look at the results of the most recent election, you had one candidate who was offering us joy, and you had another candidate who was offering us fear. If you don't vote for me, all bad things are going to happen, or
Yeah.
country's going to be destroyed. Fear won out, not
Yes.
joy. People didn't gravitate to the joy. They
Right.
gravitated to the fear, because fear is the most basic instinct and most basic emotion. And like H.P. Lovecraft said, fear of the unknown is the most powerful emotion known to man.
Yes, I
Fear of
agree.
the apocalypse, what's going to happen tomorrow. So anyway, and I'd like somebody to even disagree with me that that Trump won because he played the fear card. But anyway.
I'm going to be honest. I checked out of the election a long time ago
Yeah.
because I truly believe they're just going to put in office whoever they want. So what does it really matter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The government knows who they want, and I don't know. I just think they'll rig it. They'll throw votes out. They'll do whatever they need to do whatever they need to do. So I'm just like, I don't even know why I voted, but I'm not even sure why. Because
Yeah.
I don't think it really matters what we want.
My candidate lost, so I gotta, just suck it up and just, just go with it. So, and I'm down here in Florida, like every other person's a Trump supporter. So,
No.
But that's okay. And I'm over the shock. I'm
Right.
fine. This is my country. I hope for the best.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. That's what it should be. It should be about us as a collective being better, not one person being in charge and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. No, this is about us. And I don't think they really think about what it is that we want. I don't think they care. They get elected and then they have their own agendas, and they get, people can buy them, lobbyists and everything. They buy the votes. And I think that's really shitty.
How that works. Yeah.
I think that's very shitty. I don't think any of them do anything for us or with us in mind.
Yeah. Listen, here's a 90-degree segue.
Yeah.
But we went to see Nosferatu last night.
Oh.
And that was based on the 1922 Count Orlok. And what happened was the guy that did Nosferatu sort of ripped off Bram Stoker's Dracula. Ooh. So Bram Stoker's wife sued him. He had to burn all of his copies of Nosferatu except one, the master copy. So that leaked out. But that movie that's out there now is based on the 1922 Nosferatu. They shot it in Romania. But man, is it wonderful. I think great Victorian acting,
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe, the sex, the religion, the possession. I mean, man, it's all there. Bloody. I mean, it was good. I give it 5 stars. Now,
Nice.
my wife didn't like it, but I did. So. But I thought it was really good. I mean, I don't but yeah, and that was my Christmas movie, Nosferatu.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Is that like a play? You go to a
No,
theater
it
to
was
watch
a
it?
motion. It was a motion
Oh,
picture. Yeah, that
okay.
just came out. It's
I
yeah,
don't
check
watch
it
much
out.
TV at all.
Yeah, it was at the movies. Yeah,
I'm either researching something, doing a podcast, writing a magazine,
yeah,
planning a trip, or sleeping.
yeah.
I don't.
Or
I watch
working.
very
You don't
little
forget your
TV.
job.
Yeah,
You're
I
working.
work.
Yeah,
And I've been working a lot.
yeah,
So because it's off season, so I've been trying to bank some money. But
yeah.
yeah, but
And-
I don't watch much TV at all.
yeah. Now, are you familiar with a drug called ketamine?
Oh yes.
It's a derivative of PCP. And
Mhm.
I know for a while the kids were using this to get this out of body experience.
Yep.
And it was on X-Files, and this was a means for some people to go and talk to the Space Brothers, but it was an interesting drug. It's a disassociative. So, we don't have that feeling of connection, like here's my body and there's the table, that could touch, but you feel that you're part of the table. You feel that you're
Oh,
part
Lord.
of, interconnected with everything with this ketamine, and pretty amazing drug that I guess EMTs, I believe, use that. I'm not sure.
I used to. It depends on the service. I don't have it on my ambulance currently where I'm at, but
Yeah.
I have worked in other places that we had it on the truck.
Okay. And Sadie Jackson is correct. They use it for depression. And the thing about ketamine is, with some of the old-fashioned drugs for depression, it takes months and months to kick in. With ketamine, it takes, I think, hours.
Wow.
It's almost like a miracle drug. And yeah,
I can see
ketamine,
that. I can see that going bad.
yeah. It's a derivative of PCP, Angel does. So,
Mm.
and that's a nasty one.
Yeah, I can see many things going wrong with that.
Yeah. Now, in our backyard, we had an infamous death in the Wisner State Forest.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a law enforcement guy that went there. He was taking the bath salts, and he went into the forest, and it makes you like super hot. So they
Yes.
found him dead, naked, hypothermia. And what's interesting, this happened in Wisner. I think it might have been around 2021, I believe. But the same thing happened out in Cook County, Western Pennsylvania. 2 law enforcement guys shot up the bath salts, and they went out there, and the same thing. They were found dead of hypothermia. So just a weird connection that these deaths happen in opposite parts of the state. But with
bath salts are bad.
Bath salts are bad. Yeah.
Anytime I've come across a patient on bath salts, they're usually naked, jumping out a second-story window or running down the highway.
Yeah.
Butt
Okay.
ass naked. Yeah.
A, B, or C. Okay.
Yeah. But they're always naked. They're always naked.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's a drug that promises euphoria and ecstasy and all this other stuff, and what you get is psychosis.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. That used to be my day job, and when I retired, I worked for the Pennsylvania Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs and went around and did anti-drug training. So
nice.
some of these new drugs were just fascinating. Just
Mm-hmm.
bath salts being one of them, and
Yep.
So.
And really, you don't even need that, because I know people using heroin and stuff, you don't know what they're mixing that heroin
Yeah.
with. I give Narcan to wake somebody up,
Yeah.
and it only does half the job, because whatever other substance is mixed with that, it doesn't work on that substance. And then people are still dying. And I'm standing there going, I gave them 6 milligrams of Narcan. I don't know what you want. They should be wide awake.
Yeah.
In fact, they should be fighting me right now.
Yeah.
and they're still dying. So it's,
Yeah.
I don't.
Do they ever get upset that
That I wake them up?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or that you take away their high? Oh, geez,
Yeah, they
that's
get
a lot, yeah.
upset, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't really care.
There was this article about Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was high on cocaine when he was writing that, but he fell asleep and his wife was waking him up because he was screaming, and he was yelling at her for he was having this wonderful nightmare, that he was going to
Oh.
write about while he was under this cocaine, hallucination.
Oh my
And he was
gosh.
yelling at his wife for waking him up. So that was an interesting story. Robert
That
Louis
is
Stevenson.
interesting. Oh my gosh.
I did finish reading just today the 21 Days to Destiny, and it was by Tom Cantrell, and he knew Bob Gimlin on
Oh.
the Patterson Gimlin thing.
Yes.
And so that was his neck of the woods. But I was on a podcast with him a while back, and we struck up a friendship. But he was there in that area around Bluff Creek, and he knew all these players and knew exactly how that went down.
Yeah.
And and he claims that Patterson Gimlin film is 100% authentic, and he does chapters and chapters on why it was authentic and why it was not a man in a monkey suit. And pretty much Jeff Meldrum and everybody else that looks at it says the same thing. It's like 58 seconds of video, only 58 seconds, and Patty turns, looks at Patterson, and then walks away. It's a female. It has breasts, but it's only 58 seconds. And what happened was they came around the bend, and the horses bolted, and Patterson was able to reach into a saddlebag and get the camera and shoot the stuff. And but it was just pretty precarious. I mean, just pretty amazing stuff. So
I'll have to get that book and check it out.
Yeah, and there's a chapter in the Lost Tribes of Bigfoot when you read that one. Yeah, read that first. Oh, and by the way, if there's any listeners there, I mean, please post a review on Amazon. That sort of means something for us fledgling authors.
I actually think I have 2 copies of this now because I bought one when you were going to be on the show. I think I got one when you were on Mike's show.
Okay.
Because you were on my husband's paranormal show.
Yeah.
And I bought one, so he had it for his show, and I couldn't find it, so I bought another one.
Oh, God. Okay.
So I think we have 2 here.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, boy, my 401k just went up. God.
I was like, I can't find this book anywhere. I'm just gonna have to order a new one. I don't know. Like,
so I'm looking forward to being at your Elysburg Expo this year, and
it's gonna be huge. This year.
And what month is that?
August 9th.
Okay.
Yep, in Elysburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We're gonna have close to 150 to 200 vendors this year.
Wow.
Which is a massive increase over the last 3 years. And we have a very wild lineup of speakers this year. It's kind of centered all around Daniel Lee Barnett,
right?
Who's the 15-year-old autistic boy from the UK, and his journey with Bigfoot and how he's overcome a lot of things, because he's autistic. There's some, boundaries that he's needed to cross in order to, so it's kind of a heartwarming story about his journey with Bigfoot. And, I talk to him every day. Every day I talk to Daniel Barnett, if not twice. There are times he calls me 21 times a day, and he will tell me, I've called you 21 times today. And I'm like, I know. But, I kind of relate his story to my own personal story in that Bigfoot has given me so much. Like, I am forever grateful for Bigfoot walking into my life, literally walking into my life one day, because I have the greatest family of researchers and authors and speakers, and I have met some of the most amazing people, because Bigfoot walked into my life one day. And I don't I don't know. My life was pretty boring before Bigfoot, to be honest.
Well, you know what? I mean, I agree with you. I mean, this is our extended family. It's just,
Absolutely.
it's wonderful. Some great people, some great energies, but we get the respect.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm just honored to be on your show and to know you
Oh, thank you.
and to play a little part in this, in my own way. And I think
Hmm.
it's a fabric. There's this wonderful
Oh
tapestry,
my gosh.
and
Yeah.
we all add to it.
Yes,
I know. I
absolutely.
think is Brian King Sharp one of your speakers?
Yes. Brian King Sharp,
Yeah,
RPG, who lives down in Florida,
yeah.
where you are, is going to be here. And Daniel is coming over from the UK with his dad.
Okay.
So he will be here. And Ronnie LeBlanc
Oh yeah.
from Expedition Bigfoot will be here.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Amy Boo is going to be here.
Okay. The-
You're going to be here
yeah.
as our special guest, and Jason Kenzie is going to be here
Yeah.
also as
Wow.
our special guest.
Yeah. Wow. I
We're
mean,
actually,
it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
yeah, it's going to be a pretty amazing weekend. It's actually going to be Friday night and Saturday now.
Yeah, you're going to do
Because,
the special.
yep, we're going to do a
Because
special presentation of Daniel Lee Barnett's documentary called My Bigfoot Life. And then Brian King Sharp, unbeknownst to me, recorded an album 10 years ago. But I had no idea. The
Oh,
man has got a voice of an angel. I
wow.
cry when I hear him sing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But they pulled one of his songs to use in the documentary, and he will be here with Daniel's dad plays in a band in the UK. They are going to perform the song live after the documentary is viewed.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
then we have a couple of surprises for Daniel and his dad after that. So bring your tissues because it's going to be it's going to be great, but in a good way. It's
Yeah.
going to be they're going to be crying, but it's definitely going to be in a good way. Mostly
Yeah,
for
Brian
me,
King
probably.
Sharp and I are both fellow authors with Hanger One Publishers.
Yes,
So that's
yes.
great. Yeah, I was on his show. He does a wonderful
Oh,
job.
he does an amazing job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He's got quite the following, which I'm very jealous over.
Well, no. It'll come. It'll happen.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love Brian.
Yeah.
I got the chance to meet him, and I mean, really meet him and talk to him when we were in the UK last year at the conference. We were both speaking there, and I just love him. Like, I absolutely love him. He's an amazing person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I was on his show, and let me say, I mispronounced Renee DeHinden, who was
Mhm.
one of the four horsemen of Sasquatchery. So he edited that. I mean, where I messed it up, so he went in there and fixed it up, which was
Oh wow.
who does that? Thank you. So I didn't sound stupid.
Oh, he's
But,
a very good guy. He's an ex-police officer.
Yeah.
He's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing the people in the that are in this group. Just a whole lot of interesting people. So
Yep. Well, Sean Forker will be there too. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
okay.
watching. He is one of our MCs. So he'll be
Yeah.
making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, moving along with their presentations. He's great. He's excellent at it.
and Sean and I were in Catawissa. We did a presentation on Bigfoot.
Yes,
And
I
then
saw
also-
that.
Yeah, and then also Sean was there and as well as myself in Columbia, Pennsylvania for the Abatwitch Festival.
Oh,
which
yes,
was
yes, yes.
awesome. Which really you need to be there.
I do. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that is the same day as another event that I'm already committed at. It's every year. It's
Yeah,
there's
and
a
I'm going to
conflicting-
be in Nashville at my Navy reunion, so I
Oh
can't make it
my
to that. But that was just really good. I met a ton of people.
I
Lon
know. I gotta
Stratton
talk
was
Rick Fisher into moving that date like one
Yeah.
week.
Rick Fisher, yeah, very good, yeah.
He's also amazing.
Yeah, there were a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Tim Renner and so.
I interviewed Tim Renner a few years ago. He's pretty amazing person. I own his books too.
Yeah, and he's an illustrator, and a lot of his Abatwitch illustrations are on parkas and everything that they sell there. So
Oh my gosh,
he's
that's
pretty prolific.
awesome.
Yeah. Eric Altman was there.
Hmm.
A bunch of people. Ron Murphy, Ronnie, the punk, cyberpunk. What is it? Crypto punk.
Oh,
New York.
my Geez, I can't think of his name right
I
off the
know.
top of my head. I
You
can
should
see his
remember
face.
that. It's a crazy name, yeah. But anyway, he was there. So there was a good lineup. It was
Yeah.
a beautiful day, Columbia, Pennsylvania, just outside of Lancaster. Wow, I mean, beautiful day. Boats on the river. God, it was
Mm.
like paradise. It
It
was
is
like
beautiful down there.
yeah.
I went down there to investigate a paranormal place once. I want to say it's the Samuel Miller house.
Okay.
I could be wrong,
Hmm.
but that was pretty cool down there.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful area, absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful.
Now we're not getting a whole lot of chatter. Is it like? I mean, am I putting people to sleep or what? Or is that?
No, I don't know. People are, sometimes we don't get a lot because people are so enthralled with the conversation that they just don't ask questions.
Okay. Well,
Because I've had people comment that, man, this chat's quiet, but I'm enjoying the conversation. They're
oh well,
just not,
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of strange.
Well, that's fine, but it's giving us a chance to get caught up, So that's
There you go. She's listening.
Okay,
Sadie's
yeah, I know.
listening. Thank you.
And I think Sadie might have been a drug and alcohol counselor too.
Yes, she is or was.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Let's see
Okay.
here. I'm trying to go back in her in the conversation to see if she said.
Oh, she talked about ketamine being used for depression.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is true.
yeah. Oh yeah. She's a previous drug and alcohol counselor. Yep.
Okay. Okay, Sadie. Thank you.
My daughter is a drug and alcohol counselor. She's actually going for her PhD as we speak.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a program director of a center down in Florida,
Okay.
down in Sarasota.
Okay, Sarasota. That's not far from me. Yeah. Well, yes,
Yep.
it is. Yeah, it's further down. Yeah. A lot of people down that way.
Yep.
So.
What's your next book? What are you writing now?
Okay, the next one is going to be called.
You showed this to me, and I'm kind of excited. I really want to see
Yeah.
this.
Well, it's going to be called Paranormal Apocalypse.
I like it. I love the color. The cover of it is amazing.
Yeah, and author of the Shepton mythology. And what I do is I take a look at pretty much fear and anxiety. And I use the premise that people realize that human beings are manipulated and controlled through fear,
Yes.
whether it's religious people, political people, environmental, popular culture, whatever. But they use this fear to manipulate us. Like, for example, if you're not good, you're going to go to hell. Or if you don't follow the law, you're going to go to jail. Whatever that is. Or if you don't abide by society, you're going to be ostracized.
Yes.
If you don't fit into society's little niche, then you're going to be ostracized. And pretty much it's like, I don't know, society wants us to be successful. Society wants us to be coupled up. They don't, society doesn't like singles, all of that stuff. So there's a lot of pressure to conform, and it's very difficult, to be your own person and to walk away from that, that pressure to conform.
Yes.
Back in the old days, some of these heretics were put to death because they were rebels and they didn't conform. And for example, because the way the Christian philosophy goes, because we were made in the image of God, we are godlike, and the universe revolved around the earth because that's where man is. But when Copernicus said, "Wait, no, we go around the sun," that kicked things off. And then when Bruno said the same thing, he was burned at the stake for going against church and state. And Galileo was on home confinement for the same thing. So these people were heretics, and they paid the price for their beliefs for speaking out against the church and state, which was wrong. I mean, Earth wasn't the center of the universe, so, just things like that. But in Paranormal Apocalypse, and I have about 6 chapters done, but it's flowing. I mean, I can't tell you how good it is, how I'm just really pleased with where I am right now. And I didn't write the back cover, but I did write the last chapter. So,
Nice.
but I know how I want it to end, and it's pretty much, my. We were talking about this briefly. My philosophy is that life is very, we suffer and feel pain, and we struggle. There's a lot of darkness, but there's glimmers of hope and joy and redemption.
Yes.
And we look for that. We wait for that glimmer, that little sliver, and that's, fame is fleeting. You get that little bit of fame. I think a lot of us would like to go and taste that, but it's just like it's there and then it's gone.
Right.
You hold it in your hands and then it evaporates. It's like maybe like a snowball. Yeah, like that's a good analogy.
That's a
There's
good
your
analogy.
joy.
Yes.
It's a snowball. Keep it going for as long as you can because it's starting to melt right now.
Right.
So, but my book has a happy, optimistic ending, and but it's just great. I talk about the pandemics, and right now we're looking at this bird flu that I think for the first time we found bird flu in a pig in the United States, and the first time we found it in a guy down in Louisiana. I think it was the first time. But anyway, it looks like it's mutating, and the problem is it could this virus could mutate where it starts to spread to humans. And when that happens, that under the right circumstances, it could be a pandemic. And we've had those before. So
yes.
So I know with the COVID virus of 2020 and 2021, I finished my book. Somebody else's dream was my COVID project, and because the walls were closing in, I was going crazy. I had to go and write a book and finish a book. And so somebody else's dream, my rock and roll book, came out in 2021. But that was my therapy. That was, what I did during. Yeah, no more pandemics, please. Yeah,
yeah, please.
I don't have anything to say about that.
I'm walking away from EMS if we get another pandemic. I cannot do another one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
because I worked on the ambulance during that hot mess.
Oh yeah,
and I don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it again.
So did you have any precautions other than the mask or anything? Did they give you any kind of magic pill or what?
No magic pills. I worked in the city of Harrisburg when COVID happened, and we were literally donning our PPE in the middle of the street before going in people's houses with everybody at the door, peeking out their windows. And it was just horrible. And we had the part about it that I hated the most was that they scared people so badly.
Yeah, here we go again. Yeah.
That they didn't leave their house because they thought if they left their house, they were going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And these people had serious health issues that should have called me days or weeks before this.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're fighting the Grim Reaper in the doorway to keep them alive.
Yeah.
And it just was awful. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely hated it. I mean, we had people with breathing problems that the lady is gasping for her last breath. And I'm trying to save her. And I'm like, why didn't you call me days ago? Like, it was just.
But I don't know how it was in Pennsylvania, but in Florida, I was in the middle of a culture war that you had people wearing masks and people that didn't, or people that get the shots and people that didn't. And, I'm wearing a mask and they're calling me a liberal and talking. I mean, fuck,
Yeah.
People are dying. So, God, what a horrible time to, make that a political weapon. But
well, it was terrible. It was terrible because they had us as EMS believing that we were going to be picking up dead people like crazy.
Yeah.
And literally for the first several months, we were like, where are all these people?
Yeah.
Where are all these people dying that they said are going to be dying? Because we just didn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't see them. Nursing homes were terrible because you'd have somebody with COVID in the same room with another patient and they didn't close the door. They didn't separate the people. And then everybody's got COVID in the nursing home because they're not quarantining people. It was very frustrating.
Is that where we had most of the deaths?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But then you also, and I know this to be true, so anybody can fight me if they want to. We also had people that were killed in car accidents or motorcycle accidents or anything else, and they were labeled as dying from COVID
Okay.
because the government did give money, extra
Okay.
money
Okay.
for COVID deaths. And
Okay.
we had several county coroners in our area that were fighting with hospitals about, we're not labeling this a COVID death. He did not die from COVID. He died from injuries from
Yeah.
his accident.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. And I don't ever want to go through that again.
And,
I would rather not. It'd be great.
and then there was a conspiracy theory that they were just like weeding out the sick
Yes.
and infirmed, you know,
Mm-hmm.
cleaning up the global population.
Yes. It was insane.
Yeah.
Just everything was insane. And then to have a vaccine out in 9 months, I was like, as a healthcare worker, I was very skeptical. I'm like, we have had cancer for as long as as long
Yeah.
as a lot of people can, and we haven't even come close. But you can come up with a vaccine for this in less than 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't know if I trust you with
Mhm.
this, because
Mhm.
I didn't want to take it, but I had to take it in order to keep my job. So
Yeah, I finished a book called Vaccine A, and it was about the government doing a vaccine for anthrax.
yeah.
Because over in not Afghanistan, in Iraq. No, was it Iraq? Yeah, I think in Iraq they had anthrax, and we were trying to put together a vaccine for that, but it was causing the Gulf War syndrome. That's what it
Mhm.
was, and everybody was getting it, and these fighter pilots refused to take it, and just crazy stuff. And then finally, the government said that the government could not mandate military personnel to take that shot. That's what it was, but it
Mhm.
was causing Gulf War syndrome, which was neurological uh, effects. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've taken every COVID vaccine, but I don't know if we're going to do it again.
Yeah, I took 3 of them and I said no more. If my employer decides that I have to have more, I'm going to quit my job on the
Yeah,
spot. I'm going to be like, I'm
yeah,
sorry. I'm
yeah.
not doing it. I'm not. I
Yeah,
had 3 COVID shots and still had COVID 3 times.
yeah, me too. Yeah, yeah,
So I don't know. And 2 of those times I had a sinus infection, and I get them all the time.
yeah.
And I literally went to the doctor's office and went, "Can I just have an antibiotic? Because my sinus infection is back." And they swabbed me and said, "Oh, no, you have COVID, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
I have a sinus infection."
Yeah.
I get them all the time.
Yeah, we went to Buffalo, New York in 2022 at my Navy reunion, and I came back with COVID. Went to my Navy reunion in Dallas, Fort Worth, came back with COVID.
Oh,
So,
geez.
2 in a row. So
Something about those Navy guys.
yeah, I don't know what. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so that
Oh,
was good.
yeah.
Well, so I'm excited about the Elysburg event.
Yes.
I'm going to tell everybody I can, and I'm going to go and do everything I can do to help get the word out. And,
Absolutely.
help you because you're doing all the heavy lifting. But looking forward to that. And I want to thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh,
Like I said,
thank
it's been a
you.
long time coming.
And if
And
I do want to say, Maxim wrote an article for our new magazine called Strangeness Magazine. So if you have not, it's not out yet because it's at the printers printing right as we speak, and I'm so excited about it. I am going to do a live when the box arrives at my house.
oh, good.
I'm going to get out that first copy, and I'm going to flip through it on a live so
Yeah.
everybody can see it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
My coworker told me yesterday that I missed my calling. That he said, "Oh my God, this is so good. I think you missed your calling." And I was like, "Ah." But Maxim wrote an article for that magazine, and it's pretty interesting. I got to read it, of course, because I formatted it for the magazine. So I read it, and I'm pretty excited. He's going to be one of our regular writers for the magazine. So get your copy so that you can keep up on this kind of stuff. It's running across the bottom of your screen there.
Yeah.
Strange Knocks magazine. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, so I'm excited. Here, I'll show.
And some of the articles might have a northeastern Pennsylvania or western Pennsylvania flavor,
Yeah.
just because I think that we need to explore those paranormal elements that we have. And it's
Yeah.
not just Gettysburg ghost or Lancaster hex signs. I mean, the coal region has plenty of stuff that that we should be aware of, and just amazing stuff. So yeah, I'm glad to be a part of the magazine. This is going to be a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Success.
Dave likes my doll.
I like that too. Yeah.
Whom I've just been informed by a psychic that my doll has a man inside of it. And apparently my doll has a name, which I did not know until a couple of weeks ago, that her name is Betty, and that she has an entity attached to her. So now I'm a little more nervous about my doll.
Oh.
I tell people, if you see it move, let me know, because I'm going to go through the wall, because I got to walk out past that doll to get out of here.
God.
So it's going to be like the Road Runner. I'm just going to go through the wall.
Yeah.
Right out into the yard.
Well, again, thank you.
Thank you
for having me on the show, and wishing you a wonderful new year and continued success in 2025.
You too. You're a part of all of my success.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm hoping that we'll be keeping in touch.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm terrible at keeping in touch with people, but
that'll be your resolution, right?
Yes. I'm going to answer more phone calls.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for watching us tonight and joining us tonight. All your comments, your questions, greatly appreciated. And we will have Max back because he's writing another book. And so you're going to see him again here on From Behind Tall Trees. But you're also probably going to see him again on Paranormal Files, because that book is kind of right up my husband's alley.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I'm sure you'll be back on there at least. Okay. So thank you for tuning in, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night.
Let's see here.
This has been a CARC Universal production.